Today is a good day to remind yourselves of the perfidy of Klingon governance. Here on V'ger Please, temporarily not a vile visit to Bajor, but still quite related to it. My name is Joseph.
You know, it's not Stovacor, but I think all in all, ending up on a Star Trek podcast isn't that bad of a place to be.
It's not a bad fate.
My co-host, Peter.
Is that the barge of the damned, you know?
Thank God.
Oh, I know. Nasty. So, Peter, you and I have come together in mutual agreement to sort of recreate something we did when we started reviewing Deep Space Nine. And that's kind of take a look back into the TNG era and remind ourselves that the continuity of Berman era Trek provides us with material that is very helpful to review as we get into the later seasons of Deep Space Nine. We did that first with what we called Hasperat homework. We looked at O'Brien's backstory. We looked at a lot of Cardassian backstory through episodes like Chain of Command and Ensign Rowe. This time, we have finished season 3. We're about to start season 4. Obviously, as we have discussed already, there's a huge cast change in the arrival of Worf as a main character. And with that comes Worf's story. Worf's story is if you're watching Deep Space Nine season 4, they are writing it assuming you know this. And you know what? What a great opportunity for us to go back and take a look at some bangers and remind ourselves what that story is. So here we are, sir. We've decided to review 4 episodes. We won't be discussing the details of them, ad nauseum, because we're trying to keep this to an hour. But we watched Sins of the Father and Reunion. Both were in season 3. I'm sorry, Sins of the Father was season 3. Reunion was early season 4. And the Redemption parts 1 and 2, which was the end of season 4 and beginning of season 5 of TNG. Frankly, these 4 episodes represent a pretty tidy story arc that represents Worf kind of making first contact with his culture and not having a great time with it.
What other TV shows can you think of that had entire, 5, 6, 7 season run productions that tied as closely together as Deep Space Nine did to Next Gen and to a certain extent Voyager? Enterprise, of course, being its own bastard.
Doctor Who, like in its heyday, like in its early heyday. What do you think about like how long it was on from the first Doctor in black and white until
that almost
the 80s?
Completely dwarfs anything we can talk about with
Star Trek. That's really your only example of a long continuity science fiction.
What about like these NCIS or like NYPD Blue, like these procedural crime drama shows?
Yeah, like NCIS probably does, but I guess that's just something that's too normie for me. Law and Order certainly has a lot of play in the joints between its different entries.
Do they,
particularly when it was at its peak in like the 90s and early 2000s?
But I mean, was world building something really huge where they're like, oh, here's this district attorney and we're going to refer to him across all of the different things? And
yeah, it was that because they had shared characters because obviously it was all taking place in New York. It was very, like, it made sense in that way. This is obviously much more broad and much more ambitious.
So you've got TNG, which built a castle that Star Trek got to live in for decades.
Yes.
You had DS9 come in while TNG was still on the air. TNG got its movies out. We've migrated. DS9 should be standing on its own 2 legs right now. And I think to anybody who's been watching, like I have, and like you were, and everybody else who hears my voice that's decided to come back and listen to a podcast 20 to 30 years later, the story doesn't need help. It is a great TV show, and it is doing things in the 90s that you would not see again, I think, in a real way until Battlestar Galactica and then Game of Thrones.
Agreed.
Bringing Worf in, and I haven't seen Way of the Warrior yet, so I don't know how this is handled. I don't know how it fits. I mean, they keep him around through the rest of the show, so I assume he's a good fit in there, but there's no part of what I've seen out of Deep Space Nine that says to me, you need another male lead. And there's certainly nothing in there that says, here, let Next Generation hold your hand. I would have understood if they moved Worf in for season 1, episode 1 and said, all right, we're going to give you O'Brien and we're going to give you Worf. So now there's enough stuff there that's going to keep those TNG eyeballs on this thing. But do you remember what the decision making, or do you have any sort of like ability to peer behind the curtain and explain why Worf was brought on to Deep Space Nine?
There's some decent information out there. As a combination of factors, people have said different things through the years. I think probably a lot of it's true. What is the most important may be up for discussion, but some of it was practical, right? We want to boost eyeballs on the show. How do we do that? Can we bring a beloved character from TNG into the mix that would raise the perception of the show, engage people who may have not found DS9 to their liking relative to TNG. So that's always part of it. Michael Dorn was available and willing, wanting actually to do it, which is a big part of it too.
But think about that for a second. Like, I want to keep putting this fucking makeup on.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Dorn loves this character and he loves the show. Like, and to this day, he's still like, he's like, still like, he's held on to like what the importance of Klingon lore all his life, it's a part of him.
But this resentment of actors to have this prosthetic obligation, and I've been pigeonholed and this and that, and like, how nice for Michael Dorn to be like, this role made me a lot of money and probably put my kids through college and has made me an enduring name in the mind and hearts of so many people, and I'm going to embrace this ridiculous role. I'm going to make it real. And I'm just going to be grateful that I had this opportunity and do as much with it as I can gratefully. And I think that is amazing.
There's also a not just practical part of this as well, that Ron Moore, a name who is attached to all 4 of the episodes that we're about to discuss, and that is no coincidence. He's become a major player as of this point on Deep Space Nine's production team. He's a senior writer. He's defining a lot of the story moving forward, as Pillar and the rest of them are fully like invested in Voyager. And so Ira Stephen Bear is kind of getting to play in this environment however he wishes. And bringing Worf in is kind of necessary to expand the stakes of the show, because now this is a galaxy-spanning conflict. And you really can't not have the Klingons involved in that. And the Klingons are going to come into a degree of conflict with the Federation over what's happening. How can you not have Worf in the mix? Worf is, as these 4 episodes show us, the key connection between the Federation and the Klingons on a personal level, all the way to the Chancellor of the Klingon High Council. So if you're going to do that, what's that?
It's easy to lose scope on that stuff.
Yeah,
because when we're watching Next Generation, it is a TV show, and these are the people on the TV show, and you're always going to see these people, and they're always going to be getting adventures. But when you step off the bridge of the Enterprise and you stand on another planet and you watch what's going on, like the stuff that is just TV show coincidences. Of course, your Klingon character is going to be on a first name basis with the president of the Klingon Council. Of course, this. Of course,
but it took work. There was a real story to that, right? Like
there was, and still, like, these are big fucking deal characters in the world that has been created, and like, yeah, tapping them does start to make sense. Ronald Moore's connection with the Klingons, we've talked about it a lot. I was just thinking, like, at this point, he has completely taken over the Klingons for all intents and purposes. I don't know what Gene Roddenberry's ultimate aspirations or ambitions for the Klingons were going to be.
Well, they were just Russians, back in the day.
They were.
In the 60s.
And I'm listening to our Undiscovered Country review and how the events of Star Trek changing what it was at a fundamental level, like, gave him a heart attack and killed him.
Yes.
Well, like, even that saw huge changes in how the Klingons were going to be presented versus TOS, and how the Klingons were presented versus Next Generation. And I think that that's an important distinction is Undiscovered Country rewrote the playbook for the Klingons, and Ronald Moore rewrote that playbook into what we end up getting through Next Generation and what we're going to see into Deep Space Nine and later until Discovery poops on them. But, like, I was thinking if there's a fun way maybe for us to refer to the Klingon era or the Ron Moore era Klingons, but Moore is such a hard word to work into Klingon, and I don't
Morons.
know. We can't do it.
Can't do that.
Can't do it. So if anybody's got a fun name that isn't moron, Klingon.
KlingRons.
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 There you go.
We did it.
There you go.
We're such geniuses.
That's a you, man. Usually it's me with the nicknames, but
it's like looking at the four stories
here. I need this. This is going to be titled "The KlingRons have entered chat."
That's way better than Klingon midterms. Damn.
Yeah,
got my title beat.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, at the end of these 4 episodes, that kind of our one story arc, we have a Worf that has established a personal connection with the successful, now installed leader of the Klingon High Council, who's gone from being completely dishonored to restoring his family name. His brother now sits at the right hand of the Chancellor as a consequence of his political machinations. And he walks away from all of it, of course, because he understands while he has succeeded in his goal, he's come to the revelation it isn't what he wants. And boy, howdy, is this whole Patrick Stewart guy playing this character, Jean-Luc Picard, really kind of cool, isn't he? Because if you really want to talk about who the main character of these 4 episodes are, it's not Worf. It's JLP. And he, man, makes you fall in love all over again. He is just so good at this with this character in this role and understanding what it is he was supposed to be,
Yeah. Almost makes you forget about Picard season 1.
It does.
Almost.
It legitimately does.
Absolutely reminds me why you and I are sitting in these seats talking about this stuff. So, Sins of the Father, season 3, episode 17, first aired March 19th, 1990. So, teleplay, Ronald Moore and W. Reed Morin. Story by Drew Denahan, directed by Les Landau. We've seen the Klingons before in Next Generation, but we have not seen their inner machinations to this degree before. And even this episode, Kalar, right? So Worf's had a little bit of fringe interactions with, some one-on-one time with Klingon elements. Granted, she's not a Klingon citizen. She's biracial, I believe.
Correct. She is half Klingon, half human.
But she serves as the other mirror. Worf functions as a mirror of what the Klingon ideal on paper should look like in practice. And he is compared against these scuzzy malcontents that we often encounter from Klingons that do not exemplify these codes of honor and the other truest aspirations of Klingon culture. And then you've got Kalar, who disregards all of that and mocks it and calls it for what it is. So very interesting relationship between Worf and her as 2 Klingons that both exist outside of the Klingon Empire, where one wants to believe and the other is very much a pessimist realist, right? Not an idealist.
And it's kind of excused in the story in the sense that Kalar is half human. But I think there's something really cool about how, particularly at the end of Redemption Part 1, when Worf walks away from his commission, has that last conversation with Picard in his quarters, about how he says, I was rescued by humans. I was raised and loved. He even uses the word loved by human parents. I have served among humans, fought with humans alongside them, but I'm Klingon. I am Klingon, and I need to do what I'm about to go do because I've never done it before. I've never been a Klingon before. Really. I've never been a Klingon among Klingons doing Klingon things. Here I am, a man, an adult. I have a child of my own, and I don't know how to raise him. I don't know how to guide him, and I don't because I don't know myself. I don't know how to tell my son how to be a Klingon because I fucking don't know. And that's the subtext of his story through this. It starts with Sins of the Father. Kern comes aboard. It seems to be an extension of that prior plot, but he's treating Worf very weirdly. He's harsh with the rest of the crew, but overly permissive and kind to Worf, to the point where he actually goes to his room and says, do we need to fight about this or not? Which is what Kern wants. And then ultimately reveals, I'm your brother, and I'm here because we have a family problem.
Quick side note, the level of trust and access that the Federation and Klingon Empire give each other through these exchange programs. Because Kern, knows the duty roster inside and out. Just think, you've got, I forget what ship Riker got attached to, but it was just some bullshit bird of prey.
This
They're
is the
letting this
flagship.
fucking guy be executive officer on the flagship. He's got full access to people's data files. He knows how the ship runs. He's got his own thoughts on things.
He's ordering Geordi around. He's doing it.
I mean, he is raking these guys over the fucking coals. And it's interesting, too, because nothing about operations on Klingon vessels has ever seemed buttoned up, tightly operated, or spick and span. And this guy is in here running things, I feel, more like a Vulcan. Very clearly, he went in with the intention of causing antagonism that was going to have to take the form of a confrontation between Worf and him. Although I think Riker is ready to get froggy, too. And even he's like, I understand you're just leaving suggestions and that, this is a human thing, because if this was a Klingon ship, I would have killed you.
Yes. Real level setting right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is more in service to establishing that Kern is our serious guy, right?
Yep.
Let's make sure this guy's not to be fucked with. Then let's make the reveal that Kern's actually Worf's younger brother. Not older, younger. And he's here because he actually has an obligation to tell Worf, as the leader of the family, we've got a problem. And that problem is we're being accused of our father being a dishonorable traitor and having sold out the Kittimer colony to the Romulans. And if you don't go and answer for this challenge, then our family will be dishonored forever. And
because I am not publicly a son of Moog.
Correct. As far as everyone's concerned, the House of Moog is only you, and you are insulated in Starfleet. So purposefully, and I think this is what's really interesting, they're using you as a scapegoat because they don't think anything bad's going to happen to you. It won't matter.
They don't think you're going to care.
Right.
This is a free hit to do some politrickery here, and we need to make the decision if we are going to let the ghost of our father sit in dishonor. I didn't see anything in the episode, and maybe I was wrong, but the relationship between Kern and Worf and Kern's perception of Worf. Do you think Kern was proud of his brother prior to these encounters?
I don't think his brother knew what to think of Worf. And that's why he did it's why he got into the position he did and purposefully antagonized him. You wouldn't deceive, are you actually just kind of a Federation citizen now? Are you defanged as a Klingon? Are they right to think that you won't care? And then when he shows up and is like, bitch, we're about to fight about this. I am not okay. He's like, all right, never mind. You're Klingon. You should know this. Care.
We know why he's never reached out prior to this is because he didn't exist until this story needed him to exist. But
it also wasn't relevant, right? There was no assault on the honor of the House of Moog that would require him to have to engage.
Still, though, you grow up as a child and this terrible shit happened to your family and your brother got ripped away. Would there be a connection? I don't know. So, hey, here's the real...
Kern didn't know until he became a man. He said he reached the age of ascension, and that's when his foster father told him, I'm not your dad. This is your actual history. So it's a relatively recent revelation for Kern.
I also like the captain's mess scenes in this.
Oh, yeah.
Captain's mess just being a redress, I think, of the observation lounge. Interesting to think that the senior staff eats together. And that put Picard in kind of a different light for me. Because when I think of Picard, I think of some guy who is not interacting with his crew on any sort of a personal level whatsoever. And that's what made All Good Things such a big deal when he sits down at the poker table. But I guess having work dinners a couple times a week does make sense.
It's a naval tradition to eat with your senior officers. I don't like someone like Picard would have seen that as just part of the duty
Formality.
of being captain.
Yeah.
You know, like Picard's journey in these episodes emphasize that he was always deeply involved in the lives of his people. He just didn't allow himself to be emotionally available to them. He was always there for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he is present. This man stands up for Worf in a serious way over and over and over again, and he does it because he has he feels an honor and an honorable obligation and a duty as his captain to do so. And he does it without hesitation or reserve. And that is, that was always naturally part of Picard's character. He was just never willing to open up to them and be vulnerable himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was kind of the end of the poker game was him saying like, yeah, I guess I really fucked this up by never telling you all, like, you meant a lot to me. And then he didn't even have to say it in the end,
So Kern lays everything on the table. Worf goes to Picard about it and is like, hey, I got to deal with this. And Picard's like, well, fuck whatever mission we're on. We're going to take the flagship.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go down to the Social Security office and see what your government problems are. And we've got two big actors that are facilitating this scam, right? The first being that fat bastard Kim Peck.
Correct.
Who is the chancellor of the Klingon Council and essentially the leader of the Klingon Empire. And you got that little rat bastard Duras. No signs yet of the sisters, right?
Correct. No signs of the sisters in this episode. Also, shout out to Tony Todd, who plays Kern. Like somebody where you're very much seeing in horror movies. He does a great job as Kern. He does a great job playing a Klingon. 10 out of 10. But yeah, they arrive down. Picard shows up to stand with Worf from the start. Before he's named Chadish. He shows up like, now I'm his commanding officer, and all of you respect that kind of thing. So I'm going to make sure you know me, the captain of the Federation flagship, is here to tell you, the head of the Klingon High Council, you're going to play this within the lines because I'm watching. Yep. And they're like, okay, we got it.
Everybody's caught with their pants down. Nobody was expecting Worf to come in and say, hey, by the way, me, a Federation citizen and a Starfleet muckety muck, actually do give a shit about my name back here in the Klingon Empire. I am not going to be that guy to steal on. And not only have I shown up to start asking questions, I got the fucking best of the best in Starfleet in orbit, ready to go Scooby-Doo mystery investigation all over this motherfucker. I've got a computer.
I got a fleet of mystery mobiles ready to roll out.
I've got a computer on two legs walking around just waiting to see what you motherfuckers who can barely even understand Microsoft Excel. All right. They are ready to just rip the paperwork apart on this bitch. So please, let's play this fucking game. And the Klingons are like, oh shit.
Especially Kim Peck. He's like, oh, God damn it.
Well, hey, what if I just have a quick sidebar with you? And I'm like, nah, dude, I just need you to bend over and take it in the ass, man. Just be chill. And he's like, no, I am not going to be chill. So then Duras, who's a fucking moron, he goes with plan B, which is instead of trying to outsmart him, is just like, fuck it, let's kill everybody.
Right. And they try to kill Kern because Kern's the first Chadish.
Mm-hmm.
And they injure him. And Kern deals. Kern's he's no fucking pushover, and survives, but is injured. That's when you have a critical moment where Worf is like, I need a new Chadish, and he goes to Picard and says, I would like you to be my. The Chadish is supposed to be the person who physically fights for you in this Klingon trial environment. It is a role meant to be fulfilled by a heavy. And Picard goes, I think you've got younger and more capable men to choose from than me, Lieutenant. And he goes, you don't understand. I'm picking you because you are the person I trust to do this. And it's such a moment where he's like, I accept. And this great, it's probably my favorite scene in all 4 episodes of when someone rises up against Worf in the second round of the trial. And Picard, now the Chadish, has to intervene. And he just, without a moment of hesitation and zero fear in his eyes, like, do you want to find out what happens when I'm angry? Do you want to know what happens when the captain of the flagship of the Federation has to come down and slap a bitch? Are you prepared for that?
You know why I have a fake heart?
Yeah, like, I know I look old, but I've looked old my whole life.
Do you know why I have a fake heart? It's because I was in a fucking knife fight. Did you ever see Dune? I know how to knife fight.
I've been knife fighting my whole career.
What am I getting as a Chadich? I get a knife?
I was Gurney Halleck, bitch. Let's go.
This is home field advantage, you fucks.
And then when he goes to the
picked
fucking...
me over the computer, over murder computer. There's a guy up there that can rip phone books in half. He didn't pick him. He didn't pick Riker. Riker's good in a fight too.
And the fact that, like, it pays off after he goes and finds the old woman, and he whoops those 2 guys' asses. Like, he gets bailed at the end by, the old lady shooting one of them, but like,
but to be clear,
he stands and delivers on being a physical threat.
Picard does kill a man, right?
He does.
That's Picard murdered somebody.
No, it's not murder because they attempted to kill him.
Yeah,
first.
But I mean, he didn't knock him out. He didn't double act. Like, he has taken another man's life. And I'm trying to think if there's been any other situation in Next Gen aside from, like, ships getting blown up where Picard takes a life with his own 2 hands.
I'm sure there might be.
I don't think there
some
is.
Dudes he might have just evaporated here or there.
I don't think.
But this is definitely, I think, the first knife kill you could give to Picard.
That might be worth a trip to go talk to Troy about. It's very interesting to watch this episode, which is very political. Another hallmark of Ron Moore. It's very layered. And even this, which is one of the more intriguing Next Gen episodes, and just compared to the shit we've been watching on Deep Space Nine, and it is just child's play. Your entire crux of this conspiracy is unraveled because you found the nanny. And the nanny who doesn't really have hard evidence for anything. It's just like this good enough plot resolution device where you have found this witness and she is able to pose enough of a credible threat that you will be able to have your way. And we bring her before the council, and
it's gonna cast aspersions on your conclusion sufficient to the fact that you will not be able to conclusively say that Moog is the traitor, and that's gonna ruin. And the real problem is that evidence was found. There was a traitor, and it was, of course, Duras's father, and they have to resolve the fact it was found by futzing with it, making it look like it's Moog, and then blaming him. But if that's been done, well, I mean, as this flagship already figured out, you fucked with the evidence, and we can bring that to the table. And now you're fucked.
So this all came to light, by the way, just for the record, I think because a Romulan scout vessel had been captured by the Klingons, and the Klingons, for whatever reason, found evidence on the Romulan databanks that the Khitomer massacre was an inside job.
Correct.
I'm curious how that happened. Why would that scout vessel just so happen to have that data? And is it ever fleshed out like that was Romulan tampering to put all of this in motion in the first place?
I don't think it is actually ever addressed. Just one of those little coincidences where maybe it was intended, maybe it isn't. I don't think it was, because, if the Romulans want Duras in charge, revealing him as dirty is not in their interests. I obviously, as this plays out, later on, it was not in their interests.
Hmm.
But regardless, the scene where like it's clear where this is going, and Kim Peck finally has to just like lay it all out for everybody and say, here's why this is happening and why it still needs to happen, and has to put pressure on Worf to accept it.
And the stakes here, it's not just Duras's dad as a traitor, and it's not just Kim Peck was complicit in a conspiracy against Moog. The entire Klingon High Council is culpable in this. Everybody knows what the truth is, and to out this conspiracy effectively in front of the Klingon Empire is going to say your entire ruling council is dishonorable.
Yes.
And it's going to plunge the entire empire into God knows what. And that's always a problem. That's the issue of Undiscovered Country, right? Is what happens when whatever firm hand is leading the Klingon council falters. Is this thing going to shake apart at the seams? Is this thing going to go to war with you? Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? The Klingon Empire is too dangerous to be left unchecked. And there are real political and
Duras's family was too powerful and connected to leave holding the bag. That's why they felt the need to hide it, because that was going to come like you would have put Duras on death ground, and he would have fought over trying to avoid that fate. So this is how we're avoiding that.
Crazy shit, man.
And Worf, because he is essentially like newborn to Klingon society, and also deeply personally honorable in a way only a Federation Klingon could be, like in a pure way, says, yes, I will accept. I will give you what you actually want, which is me showing up and accepting your lie. But to do that, you're going to have to, no one's going to get to know what Kern is, and everyone's going to leave his ass alone. And two, I'm going to look at you, Duras. Look at you in the face. I'm going to say, like, I know the truth and you know the truth. And someday I'm going to get to fucking kill you. Just so you know.
Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow.
But soon.
But maybe in roughly 10 episodes.
Yes.
Maybe. Also, the first time we see the discommendation, arms crossed, turn your back to it, which is iconic.
True. Yeah.
And that is the dirty-handed council rubber stamping his discommendation. Kern stays hidden as a unknown son of Moog, free to continue his pursuits in the Klingon Empire. And Worf goes back onto the Enterprise, having done probably the right thing at a high cost to himself. But at this point, all of the dishonor is limited to him and him alone, and this is a bargain he has made. Picard's not thrilled about what he's seeing.
No, Picard didn't want him to do it. Picard wanted all this exposed. But he actually has to silence Picard when Picard tries to intervene. Like, no, this is my choice, not yours. So when we arrive at the next piece of the puzzle, 10 episodes later, or whatever.
Season 4, Episode 7, Reunion, first aired November 5th, 1990. Teleplay by Thomas Perry, Joe Perry, Ron Moore, Bran Braga. Story by Drew Dehan, who was involved in the last one, Tom Perry and Joe Perry. And this was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
It is. This is one of the most interesting episodes of TNG, in my opinion.
Lots of moving parts. Again,
very political. We have the Enterprise D approached just kind of out of nowhere by a big deal Vorcha class Klingon vessel.
Did we talk about the Vorchas?
Please.
I forget where I was reading about it, but the Vorcha is a newer Klingon design. And if you look at the warp engines on the Vorcha, you see Bassard collectors. The Vorchas were joint Starfleet Klingon designed. So you've got a lot of Federation technology in these things, and it's kind of a symbol of the alliance between the Federation and the Klingons, and that's why
they're considered the Galaxy class of the Klingon Defense Force. and it's Kalar. Shout out to Susie Plaxton, one of our favorites. Not just for Kalar, but she also memorably played Sealar when the one
The
time she was actually
Andorian.
on screen. Was that?
She was the Andorian that backstrapped Shran, right?
Yes, she was Terra, the Amazonian Andorian woman.
She's always good, man. Susie Plaxton always delivers.
She,
Minus her fucking Q. But
yeah,
that's
minus the Q and the gray.
yeah.
But Kalar is definitely her best character. I prefer the look of her as a half Klingon to B'Elanna, if I may be so bold. Like the Klingonness definitely shines through more in her makeup, and her statuesque beauty. I think pays off the combination of the Klingon brute and human softness in a way that's visually like makes a lot of sense. All respect, to Roxanne Dawson, who did her best with B'Elanna, but from a physical perspective, I think Susie Plaxton is more the archetype that suits that well. And when she shows up, she's like, "Yeah, I'm with the Chancellor, Kempek. He's back, and he needs to talk to you, Picard, because he's dying. He's got
I
shit to tell you about."
I like the opening on this. The mystery that it opens with, and I noticed they hit it with the Best of Both Worlds heavy synth opening, which is a great tension builder and like nice way to open things with like shit has we are hitting the ground running and big shit is happening and the stakes are huge. Like
Yeah, we're cutting right to the plot. The plot is happening in the teaser.
great auditory story clues there. We
And
were
of
not
course,
left
the
with
teaser actually opens with Kalar beaming aboard with Alexander. So that's kind of the B plot is, hey, when these two banged in season 1 or season 2, whenever it was, turns out Kalar has been upgraded to baby mama. And clearly, this is Worf's son. Something the story acknowledges immediately. And like, there's no ambiguity about this whatsoever.
Worf, for all of his adherence to protocols, not a fan of the condoms.
No, well, it's very spur of the moment. They banged in the holodeck.
You can't replicate a condom on the holodeck? Oh, what a terrible flaw of the holodeck. Kim Peck, we were not left with a very flattering impression of. He was old and fat and corrupt. He ultimately had the best interests of the Klingon Empire and peace in mind, but the way that he was willing to accomplish these things were flawed. And I think this episode does a much better job of walking that back a little bit and leaving us with somebody who we're going to feel sorry to see go because we see what the other options are and they are not stellar. So he brings.
This is actually an important plot point in Deep Space Nine. Is not it is that the leadership of the Klingons has never actually met with the ideal that Worf holds for his people. Kempek, for all of his flaws, certainly had virtues. He was a pragmatic political operator trying to keep the empire together, but he was corrupt and was willing to make compromises that Worf found distasteful. And obviously, Gowron has his own flaws that we'll discuss in due course. None of them are like the sort of idealistic leadership figure that someone like Worf himself tries to embody.
He's been poisoned. Someone's been poisoning his wine. And first Picard thinks he's getting called in to discuss using Federation medical technology. He's like, no, it's too late. It's been going on too long. It's permanent. Let me keep pounding this tainted wine because I'm going down with the ship. Game recognized, game Picard. I know you are impartial, and this isn't said, but basically you embody the things that I should have been, and my dying wish is to have you present to oversee the selection of the next chancellor of the Klingon High Council. And the real thing I want is for you to use aforementioned Scooby squads to figure out who it is that has killed me dishonorably, and make sure that honorless fuck does not lead the Klingon Empire down a path of corruption. Well, further corruption and more whatever. You would think it's just flat out going to be Duras, but I like the way that Gowron's framed in this as like a strong competitor for the seat that nobody knows shit about.
Right. And so that's why it's like we all kind of our priors are aligned to thinking Duras did it. But Gowron is such an unknown that we can't say he didn't do it. And it leaves enough ambiguity for the first 2/3 of the story, such that when the revelation comes that it was Duras all along, it's not a surprise, but it is something they felt they had to prove,
Also, fun side note, Kim Peck is the longest seated ruler of the Klingons. And the fact that it's him being assassinated by poison to get him off essentially the throne. What a great way to like encapsulate all of the Klingon Empire we've seen up to this point. Because the Klingons have been friendly. They've been lukewarm. They've been good enough to the Federation. It's not the TOS.
They have a treaty of alliance, but they have a sort of distant friendship, They're not culturally compatible, but at the same time, they're partners. Like the argument between the two of them was won by the Federation, ultimately. The Federation lived up to its ideals and saved the Klingon Empire from the tragedy that happened as a consequence of the explosion of Praxis.
What was the episode where the general who is Jatral, the Romulan general, comes to Picard and says, I know there's going to be a war, and then Picard goes in. The defector? And then Tomalak ambushes him at the end. Was that season 2, season 3?
That is a season 3, episode 10.
Okay, so
Ron Moore wrote that too, by the way.
It's under Kim Peck that Picard was able to go to the Klingons and say, hey, I'm investigating a Romulan buildup. Can you give me 2 bird of preys that are going to stay cloaked and watch my back while I go break the neutral zone? And Tomalak appears and is like, fuck you, I'm going to drag the Enterprise's burnt hull and hang it from the fucking marketplace in Romulus. And then those Klingon warbirds decloak. And he's like, you ready to fucking go or what? Like, Kim Peck has been very good for business. And while they're not best friends, like, the Klingons have been good allies. And this has all been under Kim Peck's very long watch. So Kim Peck represents basically everything we've seen out of the Klingon Empire up to this part, including this program where Riker was on their bridge, this exchange program, like very friendly, not hugs and kisses, but very warm. Yeah. Kim Peck leaving is a big deal. And this is high stakes because you're probably not going to end up with someone this chill again. So yeah, who killed this fucking guy?
So, Kalar's role, and I think she's very smartly used, to say, like, we're going to use Klingon tradition, the like old forms of Klingon tradition, to stretch this out so the Federation Scooby squads can do their magic, right? We need to buy time so that Picard has a legitimate reason to intervene in this process, given the position he's been given, so that he can say, well, you're the one who poisoned Kim Peck, and therefore now I can invalidate you publicly, which is what's necessary for, the political process to play out. Picard is very discomforted by all of this. It's breaking the Prime Directive in large portion, but in a practical sense, he has to, because the fate of the Federation is going to be tied to the Klingons not being run by a fuck, right?
And that's exactly, again, this is why Kim Peck brought him in. These are 2 different Kim Pecks. Kim Peck in Sins of the Father is just a fat bastard. Kim Peck in Reunion's like, all right, we're putting all the bullshit off to the side. Like, this is real politic time. Yeah. You should not be here. This looks bad. I need you here because you have integrity and honor. And because exactly what you just said, the wrong guy gets in here, we're going to end up at war. Shit's going to get wild. And I don't care what your Federation rules are, because and I know that you need to have a hand in this. Otherwise, lots of people are going to die. And it's going to be people wearing gold jumpsuits and red jumpsuits and soft Federation colonies. And also, remind me when Best of Both Worlds was?
End of season 3, beginning of season 4.
Oh, hey, guess what? Wolf 359 happened
right now.
You are in the fucking Hurt Locker, and it wouldn't be until Beta Canon or whatever. Like, we showed up in force, and we lost a lot of fucking ships saving your ass. Like, we need to be BFFs. We have proven we need to be BFFs, and you need to break whatever rules you think you have to make sure the right guy is sitting in the chair. This is not a time for rules. This is a time for right and wrong.
And this is some real flagship shit too. Like Picard, not only in this episode but also in Redemption Part 2, like he's doing admiral level shit, right? Like despite the fact he is literally just the captain of the Enterprise, he is arbiting who's going to succeed in the second largest star empire and the second most powerful star empire in the known galaxy. He is later then going to lead 20 plus ships to blockade a border to prevent the Romulans from fucking with what's going on. And he's going to do this by like talking to his bosses and saying, we all fucking know this is what we have to do. Let's do it. He is the guy for this. He's, you know, we talk a lot about Deep Space Nine as kind of like the gas station attendants who get, you know, up jumped into a position of authority that they weren't necessarily intended for. Not the case for TNG. Jean-Luc Picard was built for these moments. He is the man for this, and he never disappoints.
Hey, remember when I led robot zombies to go stab everyone in the back and cost countless lives and really fuck things up? And you still let me keep my job?
Yes.
Because of this shit right here? Because I'm a once in a generational acting talent that can lock these fucking scenes down and make the people watching at home think that this guy wearing space pajamas is pulling these moves. Like,
is there not one bad scene with him in it in TNG? Is there? Not fucking one. It's crazy. Like, he has an insane hit rate.
Yeah. That's what made him falling from grace hurt so bad, Joe.
It did. So the B plot, you know, Worf is dishonored. Duras is leaning into that hard when he shows up. Gowron also is discomforted by it, but he's kind of like a side player in the story. It's really about Worf Scooby squatting the answers, navigating these political circumstances, and dealing with the fact his baby mama's here, and trying to tell him, like, you need to help raise your son now, and him feeling not adequate to the challenge.
Rough spot for Worf to be in. And through all of these, Worf's like, listen, I'm discommendated. Me being around is going to be an issue. I should not be closely involved with this until, which Picard actually agrees to. Like, yeah, this sucks, but like, this is too dangerous right now for us to have this side distraction until they're at Kim Peck's funeral viewing or whatever, and they got the pain stick and they're ritualistically like verifying he's dead. Duras is a total bitch about it and holds the stick wrong. Not Duras. Yeah, Duras. Gowron, this like, hey, look, I got crazy eyes. I'm going to show you the first time.
Crazy eyes are the first thing you meet.
When I'm mutilating this corpse, and No Chill Duras is like, cool, while everybody's together, I'm going to have one of my dudes with the fucking Romulan bomb in his arm, like fucking car bomb this meeting. In what? The hopes of killing Duras?
Hopes of killing Picard. That's like the implication. That's what Picard himself says when he talks about Duras later. I was saying, like, he tried to kill me once. Like,
well, I thought he was talking about he tried to kill me. He tried to kill you twice. He tried to kill you with the bomb. And then he also tried to kill you when you were talking to Grandma and you had to stab a man before she shot the other guy in the back.
Who knows? Trying to kill people who aren't Duras, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, ultimately, the thing that actually kicks the plot off, there's the investigation into the bombing that ultimately reveals Duras's complicity, which actually comes before anything about the wine comes to the front. That's actually how they prove it. But at the same time, Kalar gets wind of some bullshit that Picard and Worf got up to that they don't want to talk to her about, investigate it by herself, and then peels open all of the sealed files and sees, holy shit, Duras's family is deeply dishonorable and totally was traitorous and dealt with the Romulans to destroy Kittimer. And Duras, being a fucking idiot, being a class A moron, being the stupidest man ever to live, decides, you know what I'm going to do? You know what the great idea for me is? I'm going to go commit a murder on the flagship of the Federation and think nothing's going to come of that.
Where the guy who's in charge of security already said he is waiting for the day he can come fuck my little ass up.
Right. And the beauty of
Side note, Kalar, Miss No Chill herself, could have very well been like, oh, well, you're going to be in charge. I'm going to let you buy me. Because, like, that's what happens is, no, Gowron tries to buy
Gowron
her.
tries to bribe her first and she declines. And that's actually what throws a little suspicion on him.
Yeah. She at any point could have been like, yes, I'll play along. You're so smart and powerful. I'm going to use my womanly wiles and charms and just get you to leave so my son's not going to grow up without a mother. And
Well,
then
I think by the time
door,
Duras
lock
comes
the
in,
door.
she's pissed because, like, you've done this to my baby daddy, who she
Again.
obviously has a deep affection for.
Again, this is how you can really tell it's sci-fi, right? Because there's not enough human woman in her to lie for 4 minutes to get this guy out of the room, to lock the door and call the police. She's just
Klingon
like,
part of her came to the forefront at the wrong time, lady.
no, we are going to keep arguing until you put my head through this table. Also, really, like, the House of Duras can best be encapsulated by its refusal to double tap.
Yeah.
They thought they killed Kern. They did not. They left him for dead, but he was not dead. Duras puts her through every piece of glass in that room, but doesn't actually kill her. He just leaves her for dead.
So lives long enough to tell Worf what happened.
Just Duras is a house of self-annihilation complexes.
I adore what happens when Worf comes in, where he has the moment of mourning. He forces his son to like this is a very Klingon thing you're about to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes back to his quarters. He throws his fucking comm badge onto the floor, like hits the table, goes to the floor. He doesn't give a fuck. He grabs a batleth and goes, I'm going to go kill this man off the books right now. I'm having no conversations with anybody about it. I'm getting my murder stick and I'm going to town. Goes over, and apparently whatever the laws of the Klingon Empire are, despite the fact that he's discommendated, apparently he still gets to fight Duras to the death because Duras killed his bitch. And I really like that for some reason, of like, he's claimed the right of vengeance. And they all like turn around like, really? It's like, yeah, she was my mate. That was my son in there. And Duras doesn't even argue. He's like, okay, I guess you're right. I guess we're doing this.
That entire sequence, starting with him walking in and seeing her, like, carries an emotional weight and tension that
music's great in that scene too.
It's not the stuff I remember Next Generation for. And the whole way through this thing, you're like, oh fuck, Worf, like, you have to go kill this guy. Like, this is like you are under divine mandate to go over there and fucking murder this guy. And Picard finds out that Worf's missing, and he's like, oh fuck, well,
I know what he's doing.
He's like, Riker, go get him. You better go get the only person here who could whoop Worf's ass, which is electricity. I'd send you out with some blue barrels, but they're on shore leave right now. And Riker is not happy about Riker's obviously very conflicted between duty and knowing what's up. And Data's like, so what are we going to... I need parameters.
I don't think he's going to come quietly.
My calculations, my models I'm running on this right now are not looking great. And they're like, well, it's Star Trek. We always get there right in the nick of time, right?
Oh, not this time.
Nope. Doors swoosh open, and there's Worf coming down with a double axe handle chop. Only this time there's an actual axe in the hand. And he gets the two pointy ends of that bat'leth into both of Duras's hearts.
He knows how to double tap with one hit.
So he kills him. And we get this moment with Picard, which we've already discussed when Jadzia left to go kill the albino. And I understand what you've done is allowed by the rules of the Klingons, but you wear a Starfleet uniform and you have agreed to follow our rules. And Starfleet is not an organization that respects everybody's home customs, but it respects it from the outside. And when you put this uniform on, you agree to discard those rules and follow our rules. And I'm going to rate you up.
He gets an NJP for murder, which is getting away with it, quite frankly. But it has to do with the fact, and it is interesting in dialogue. Everyone's pretty happy with his outcome, macro level. Like the Klingons are like, yeah, that's totally legit. Like Duras did that shit. Worf killed him. Nothing more to be said. And
Duras has always been a bitch and a fucking,
yeah,
you know.
it eliminates the succession issue. It solves for what Kimpek was asking for, which is don't let the guy who killed me succeed me. Done. And the Federation is happy with this because they're like, oh, good. Well done, Jean-Luc. You prevented the problem from getting in charge. Like, you did your job. We're happy with that. So he's like got no one who's angry over this except himself. And that's why he ultimately gives Worf the lightest possible punishment. And say, I'm going to give you an NJP. I'm going to put it in your jacket. You shouldn't have murdered somebody. And I expect you to behave more like a Starfleet officer in the future. Which is important because that is kind of the story of the next two episodes. So, Redemption Part 1, written by from June 17th, 1991, which is Season 4, Episode 26, ended the fourth season. Written by Ron Moore. That's it. No story by, no teleplay. It was 100% Ron. Drafted by Cliff Bowl. And we'll also include in this, because it's just kind of one story, Redemption Part 2 came out September 23rd, 1991. Also just written by Ron Moore, directed by David Carson. And this is kind of where what happened in Reunion comes to a head. The Enterprise is heading off to actually be part of the installation of Gowron, to put him on the throne. And on their way there, Gowron actually intercepts him on his ship and is like, hey, Picard, bad news. There's a lot of people who aren't real happy about how things have gone down. And there might be some opposition to me becoming Chancellor. And I need you to make sure you know you're going to help me. Picard plays it very cool, of like, I'll go as far as Klingon law is concerned, but the unasked question you're putting out there of am I going to throw hands on your behalf? Am I going to use these giant, fuck off phaser strips to blow up your enemies? The answer is no, I'm not doing that. Gowron's a little upset by this, but he accepts it. And he has a scene with Worf as he gets escorted off the Enterprise, where Worf tells Gowron for the first time what happened. And Gowron actually responds in a bro-y way. He's actually really hurt by the idea that Worf, the whole High Council knew that this is all a lie, that Duras was responsible for that all along. And because he was an outsider, as we know, he didn't know.
I want to jump back again. The note there was that Gowron this is what KLS is saying. Gowron is an outsider who frequently challenged the council. And she doesn't really specify.
He's a gadfly, yeah.
What we need to be more traditional. We need to be more liberal. We need to be more warlike. We need to be more conservative. We need to be more honorable. It's just he's clashed with the High Council's ideals. And that makes sense in this context as to why there's opposition to him getting this seat.
And why he doesn't know what happened with Duras and Worf and Picard and all of that. Because he's an outsider looking in. And he ultimately tells Worf at the start, I can't help you restore your honor. I need the council to support me. And if the first act I take is to tell them the world they lied to him, same thing Kempek said, then I'm fucked. And he tells Worf, you chose this fate. You must live with the consequences of your choice. Period. I can't help you.
It was the right thing to do, but listen, dog, you got a magic food box on the wall. You get to look at Troy on the bridge. Your life's pretty good over here, right?
Yeah. And Redemption Part 1 is really cool because it shows Worf taking agency and clearly having learned from Picard in his own way. Because what does he do? He gets his leave of absence from Picard, who really wants him to reclaim his honor. Goes to him early and is now's the time to make up for he's been hard in the pain of this should never have happened to you to begin with. And he lets him like take some days off to deal with it. And he goes first by like going to his brother, finding out his brother doesn't like Gowron and is intending to like throw down on, you know, against both of them, depending on like what happens to oppose Gowron. And he actually says, no, no, no. The smart play is this, bro. And I'm in charge. I'm the older brother. You're going to do what I say. We're going to wait until Gowron needs the help you can bring him. And then we're going to extract a price. The price is going to be restoring our family name. That's the right thing to do. Don't fight this man. Put him in your debt. Use a little diplomacy. Use a little smarts. That's the Picard sinking through of like, I've watched these guys operate. This is how you're supposed to do it.
Look, brother, I've brought a spreadsheet. I will show you the truth of the column D.
Yes. I've learned the ways of Excel. The secrets.
Equal parentheses sum.
And so this first episode is like Worf playing the political game of the Empire, setting up to try and help Gowron take control and deal with the challenge that's going to come from Lursa and Bator as Duras' sisters. It's where we get introduced to them. I do like the consistency that Lursa is the tactician and Bator is kind of the whore. This is what happens when they try to seduce Picard. This happens when they try to seduce Worf in part 2. And they rustle up basically their brother's illegitimate child as the inheritor of the House of Duras and have him stand in to challenge Gowron to try and rally the support of the Klingon Council that doesn't want the outsider taking power.
By the way, this is a real girl power episode in terms of unredeemable baddies. You got Lursa Bator, you got Sela getting rolled out. Like
Kalar's in her own way also kind of like a really cool girl power character.
Great female sci-fi characters across the board. I love it.
All of them strong in their own ways. All of them like
fucking badasses, take no shit cutthroats. Like, fuck yeah, man. Also, what a great way to get Denise Crosby back on screen.
Yeah, well, you know, part 2 is where Sela enters the chat, and just the way they're able to set that up, they bring Guinan in to sort of like tell Picard, yeah, the story's impossible, but you know me, I tend to know things that are impossible are possible for Elarian reasons. And yeah, you actually did do this. You are responsible for everything that's happening because you are the one that put somehow some version of Tasha Yar on the Enterprise C. I can't tell you anything else except that it's true.
It's all the spackle you need. What a ridiculous series of events and what a crazy ask on the audience. And all you have to say is, look, it's fucking cool, right? Yeah? Can we just let it be cool? And we're like, fuck, it's Denise Crosby as a Romulan. Yeah, we can let it be cool. Thank you for asking. Yes, proceed.
And the way that Picard is able to accept all of this quietly, there's no like big debating over this. He's like, all right, well, I'm not sure I understand because this is all has to do with something that apparently I did, but then rewrote time, so I don't know I did it. But at the same time, well, I am in the space business, and this is some shit that happens. So, okay, I guess I am responsible for this.
Oh, I don't know. Is this plausible? This might be a Q episode. Yeah, whatever. Cool. Look, I got real politics in front of me. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And so, you know, part 1 is all about Worf delivering on getting really involved in Klingon politics, ultimately succeeding in intervening in Gowron's behalf, but not succeeding in convincing Picard to really throw down for him and deciding to actually resign so that he can, like I said before, he has this personal journey he's on that he needs to be a Klingon among Klingons. He has to do it. And he's got the Klingon chancellor saying, I need you. And I can give, and he gave him what he wanted. He gave him his family honor back. His machinations worked. It paid off. Kern shows up, saves his life. There's no more debate. But the only way I'm going to solidify what happened is if I make sure that this man wins. It's the only way all of this matters. And there's made me tear up a little bit with the way he leaves at the end of Redemption Part 1. The crew turns out. They stand at attention. He tells them goodbye. It's end of season. They're maybe trying to make you think Worf might actually be leaving, same way they did with Picard the season before.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's not going to happen. But it does show Worf showing a ton of agency, which I think is important to how his plotline goes off in Deep Space Nine. And then Redemption Part 2 is actually less about him because you've got Sela, you've got Data taking command of the Sutherland and demonstrating
cyber racism,
dealing with cyber racism.
Christopher Hobbs.
He demonstrates that he can be a command officer, and all of that is kind of taking up a lot of the time. And it's really a lot of Worf getting disenchanted with how Klingons actually are. They're not mission focused. They don't really live up to their ideals. They're kind of murderous and assholes. And ultimately, while he succeeds at the end, when he's offered the opportunity to kill the Duras kid, he actually says no and forbids anyone else from doing so in front of Picard, as if to say, I've learned the lesson you tried to teach me when I killed Duras. And here I'm going to prove it to you. I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to forbid everyone else from doing it. And then I'm going to ask to come back. And he says yes. And I think that ties it up perfect, right? You started this, taking these baby steps into a world you didn't understand. You got more immersed. You made some mistakes. You learned about yourself and who you are, and you realized you're a Klingon, but you're not compatible with being part of this. You're a member of the Federation. You have our ideals. You were raised by humans. And he leaves, mission complete, Kurn in place, Gowron in place and in debt to him and in debt to Picard, but also realizing his destiny is on the Enterprise, at least for now. And so when he comes, to kind of tie this up, when he arrives on Deep Space Nine, the Enterprise has been destroyed, and he doesn't know what he's doing with his life. And I don't want to say anything else because they're going to watch the episode, but it really is picking up right where this left off.
Good stuff, man.
It was really good to review all of this. And it makes sense as to why Worf is a natural fit for the show. Because if the Klingons are going to be involved, it would actually be more awkward if Worf wasn't there.
The who?
If the Klingons are going to be involved, what happens with the Dominion?
You're crackling. What'd you say?
If the Klingons are going to be involved.
Sorry, the KlingRons? Yes, the KlingRons.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Fuck you, dude.
Well, you're saying if the Klingons are going to be involved, Ronald Moore is sitting in the fucking seat. And where there's Ronald Moore, there is God, and there's KlingRons.
And if the KlingRons are going to be a big part of the story, it actually is more difficult to explain Worf's absence than to say, well, if the man wants to do it, fuck it, we ball. Let's go.
He finishes Generations as lieutenant commander.
Lieutenant commander. So he comes in as lieutenant commander.
Who got walked off the plank? Was it Worf?
Yeah, it was Worf. Yeah.
So he just got promoted up to lieutenant commander.
Correct. Yeah, they bring him in. They also they don't bring it up in dialogue, so I'm just going to mention it now. They promote Dax to lieutenant commander during the gap between season 3 and season 4. She's just got an extra pip on her shoulder, and they promote Julian to full lieutenant.
What had he been?
A lieutenant junior grade. And they said they did that because bringing Worf in, because of they thought about this, right? Worf's a lieutenant commander. He's going to outrank essentially everybody. He's going to be equal to Kira. So we need to create a little bit more
Why? Do you? Because you've got a guy who was pulling duty shifts on the flagship and has saved the world in time travel many times. And he's going out to a gas station, and the next person closest to him has done nothing. I like Jadzia Dax, but she is not an impressive Starfleet officer, and nor has she ever shown the desire to be an impressive Starfleet officer. She is this ethereal, timeless being who is there for experiences. Whatever.
It's what happens between Dax and Worf. So
they need parity, so it's not an HR issue.
Correct. That is actually, I think, the reason why is like if you don't promote Dax, then it gets weird. So they promote Dax.
Whatever.
And if you promote Dax, it's like, well, Julian's kind of brilliant. He probably would have gotten promoted.
I never even really consider the Starfleet doctors to have rank because it's just if you can bench the captain, who cares?
Yeah. True. All right. Thank you so much for being part of our review here. I think we enjoyed going through all of this a lot. And I feel really ready for season 4. I feel ready for Ron, KlingRons, and all of the Klingronian drama. And we thank you all for joining us. And we will see you next time around. I don't know if it'll be next week. I'm not exactly sure when this episode is going to come out. But the next time you hear from us, it will be us reviewing Way of the Warrior. See you then.